Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to give you, I guess, my list of 10 NHL'ers who were traded by their teams too early. So that's 10 guys that teams gave up on too early, either just at the beginning of their career or after they've had them been around for a few years, and even in a couple of cases, a little more than that. But still too early. They gave up on them too early. So if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe and ring the notifications bell. That's down there, and that'll get you your daily fix of Blue Blanc Rouge from me at Talking Habs. And while you're on the way down there, give a thumbs up if you like the video, and leave me any comments in the comment section about any guys that you might think that I left off the list, anything you might disagree with on this list. Anyways, any comments you may have in the comment section. Okay, so this is a list of, like I said, 10 guys, 10 NHL'ers that were traded by their teams just a little too early, that went on to have great careers or really good careers, or just played many more years at a high level after they were traded. So we'll get right into it. So the first one on my list is Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton was drafted first overall in 1997 by Boston. After 7 seasons in Boston and having a good start, 33 points in 23 games played, and leading a struggling Boston Bruins team by a pretty good margin at that point already, he was surprisingly traded to San Jose for an underwhelming return of Marco Sturm, Wayne Primo, and Brad Stewart. And I remember when this trade happened, it was a shock because Joe Thornton had already had a 100-point season for the Bruins. There wasn't a guy you thought would get traded, but I think he had trouble with his last contract, negotiating his last contract, and I'm not so sure how. He wasn't really a typical Boston Bruins player, and I guess there was some hard feelings there, whatever, and they traded him. The big surprise, more than that they traded Joe Thornton, was the really underwhelming return they got back for him. I mean, Sturm was a decent player, so was Primo. Brad Stewart was an okay defenseman, but I mean, they gave up their best player, and they got 3 guys back that I just didn't understand it at the time. Thornton has since had a very successful, hugely successful career in San Jose, except for winning a cup that he never managed to do, win a cup with San Jose. And he went 15 seasons since. So I'm sounding confused because I don't know if he's been 15 seasons more. I think it is. He's had 15 seasons after leaving Boston. He had career totals. Does that mean he's played really 22 seasons? I guess that sounds right, actually, for Joe Thornton. He's had career totals of 1,566 games, 413 goals, 1,065 assists for 1,478 points. And that's going into this season. So I don't have this season's totals. And he's also played 179 games in the playoffs, posting 31 goals, 102 assists for 133 points. So Joe Thornton at number 10. At number 9, let me write it down. Number 9 is, give me a second, write it down. Is Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios. Chelios was drafted 40th overall in the 1981 draft by Montreal. He played 7 seasons here in Montreal, winning a cup in 86, winning a Norris Trophy in 88-89 as the best defenseman. And after a subpar, injury-filled 1989-90 season, Montreal traded him to Chicago for Denny Savard. Apparently, Montreal thought that after the subpar season and the injuries, that maybe Chelios, after 7 seasons in Montreal, was already starting to be on his way out of his decline. Because don't forget, Chelios was one of those kind of rough, tumble kind of players, heavy hits, hard mileage on his body. And that's what I heard that they were thinking, the reason they traded him. He also had some off-ice personal issues. He was getting trouble going to bars and getting in fights and stuff like that. And I think they just didn't want to deal with all that. He went on to play 9 seasons with Chicago and then 10 more with Detroit, where he won his second and third Stanley Cup after winning the one in Montreal in '86. Montreal thought he was troubled and on the downside of his career when they traded him. Were they ever wrong? His career totals are 1,651 games played, 185 goals, 763 assists for 948 points, 2,891 penalty minutes, and in the playoffs, 266 games, 31 goals, 113 assists for 144 points. Not a bad career after you think his career is over. It was a big mistake by Montreal. Savard was at the end of his career. He didn't really do much here, even though he was here for the '93 Cup win. But it was just a little too late to get Denny Savard, who they should have picked in 1980 instead of the late Doug Wickenheiser. Rest in peace, Doug Wickenheiser. And they tried to right that wrong, I guess, but it was a bad move. Number 8. Number 8 is he was drafted first overall in 1991 by the Quebec Nordiques, and that's Eric Lindros. Eric Lindros, drafted first overall by the Nordiques. Lindros was not going to play in Quebec, and he said so to the press many times and told Quebec, don't draft him. And instead of trading away the pick, Quebec decided to draft him anyway. And then they were forced to trade him because Lindros and his family, his parents were his manager, his father anyway. And they forced he played. Let me read. So Lindros held out. This is how they forced it. He held out playing for the national team in the Olympics, and he won a silver medal. And he held out for a year. The Nords finally traded him at the 1992 entry draft to Philadelphia for Steve Duchesne, Ron Hextall, Kerry Huffman, Mike Ricci, and the rights to Peter Forsberg. 2 picks, and I didn't write down which they were, and $15 million, which they were still allowed to pay cash. I don't think you're allowed to do that anymore. You can retain salary, but you can't give money. So that's a shitload of players for one guy. But the problem here was that they also traded him to the New York Rangers for Tony Amonte, Alex Kovalev, John Van Beesbrook, and Doug Weight, plus 3 first-round picks, 93, 94, and 96. And I wrote here, wow. And the bad news for the Nordiques were that it had to go to an arbitrator because they traded him to 2 teams. They had an agreement with 2 teams, and the arbitrator ruled in the favor of Philadelphia, who they said had the deal first. And when you look at the players involved, New York Rangers were giving a hell of a lot better return, but they had to take the Flyers deal. Lindros went on to play 760 games, scoring 372 goals, 493 assists for 865 points. So a good deal over a point a game. And he played for Philadelphia, New York Rangers, Toronto, and Dallas. Lindros not a player I really liked, and I think mostly based on he was managed by his parents, and they were horrible. And I didn't like the fact that a guy would get drafted and then just say, no, I'm not playing for them. I didn't like that. So I didn't like Lindros. Next up at number 7, another former Montreal Canadian. I think Montreal, I got 3 or 4 of them on here. And that's John LeClair. John LeClair. LeClair was drafted 33rd overall by Montreal in 1987. He played 4 years of college hockey in Vermont, where he's from. He's from St. Albans. He played the college hockey before. I'm trying to read my writing, and it's like impossible. So he played the 4 years of college hockey before joining Montreal in 1991. He scored 2 overtime game-winning goals in the 1993 Cup Finals. And midway through his 5th season in Montreal, he was traded along with Eric Desjardins and Gilbert Dion to the Flyers for Mark Recchi and a 3rd-round pick. He paid immediate dividends in Philadelphia, playing in 37 games and scoring 49 points. He then proceeded to put up 97 points, 97 points, 87 points, 90 points, and 77 points in his next 5 seasons, playing alongside Eric Lindros. He played 10 seasons in Philadelphia and then his last 2 in Pittsburgh. He had career totals of 967 games played, 406 goals, 413 assists for 819 points. Plus, he put in 42 goals, 47 assists for 89 points in 154 playoff games. He never had more than, I think, 45 points in his 5 seasons in Montreal. So this was really a guy that broke out. I'm not saying he would have got those kind of numbers in Montreal. Granted, we didn't have a guy like Eric Lindros here, but they gave up on him too early. Next up, at number 6 is actually another Montreal player, but it's not Montreal that gave up on him. And that player is currently here. And that player is, just give me a second, is Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki, drafted 13th overall in the 2017 draft by the Vegas Golden Knights. Suzuki never played for Vegas except in his first training camp, where he was cut and sent back to junior hockey. Just before the next training camp, Vegas decided they needed Max Pacioretty and traded Thomas Tatar, Nick Suzuki, and a 2nd-round pick to Montreal to get him. It was a good deal for both teams in that Max Pacioretty has performed well. A slow start, but he caught on near the end, and he's having a really good season this year. And Thomas Tatar, who was basically a throw-in in the deal, has paid off big time. And Nick Suzuki, who, while he didn't make it in his first season here in Montreal, he was sent back to junior again, where he had a great junior season, winning the Memorial Cup. Didn't win the Memorial Cup, won the OHL championship, won the scoring championship in the playoffs, and a Memorial Cup berth where they didn't win the cup, but still. Yeah, Suzuki had a good second camp with Montreal, which was this camp. He made the team, and he's off to a good start in his career. I know he's young, but I think Nick Suzuki, he's one of my favorite players right now, and he's going to have that kind of career where they're going to regret that they traded him. So he's in his rookie season right now. He's got 9 goals. The words 9 goals, 19 assists for 28 points in his first 51 games played. Long video. Sorry, guys. Next up, in number 5, I believe he is a Nashville Predator. That is Phillip Forsberg. I don't know. I'm saying it. Why do I have to write it and then show it to you? I guess for the people who want to just flip through. Number 5, Phillip Forsberg. He was drafted by Washington, 11th overall in the 2012 draft. Signed a 3-year ELC. That's the entry-level contract with Washington. He was traded April 3rd, 2013 to Nashville, never playing for Washington. He was traded for Martin Erat and Michael Lada. A horrible trade in the long run, right? And 8 years later, we know that it was a horrible trade for Washington. He's gone on to play almost 8 seasons now for Nashville, posting 395 games played, 145 goals, 160 assists for 305 points. And that's going into this season. I don't have the stats for this season. And also 23 goals, 21 assists, 44 points in 61 playoff games. So Washington got rid of him a little too soon. Next up, number 4, is guy that just got hurt very recently, and a guy that I couldn't get. I was looking him up, and I was calling him Donnie. And I think because when I was a kid, I went to school with a kid named Dougie Hamilton, but it's Dougie Hamilton. Dougie Hamilton, number 4. Both Boston and Calgary traded him away. Dougie Hamilton, traded by 2 teams already. Hamilton was pushing to be a top defenseman in the league this season before breaking his leg last month. Drafted by the Bruins in 9th overall in the 2011 draft, he played 3 seasons in Boston, playing 178 games, 22 goals, 61 assists, 83 points. He was traded to Calgary on June 26, 2015 for a first and 2 seconds. He played 3 seasons in Calgary, 245 games played, 42 goals, 95 assists, 137 points. Numbers are getting better. But he was traded again June 23rd, 2018 to Carolina, where he's continued to play great. He was traded for Neil Hanifin and Elias Lindholm, which was a really good deal for Calgary because Lindholm's been quite good. So Dougie Hamilton will continue, probably have a great career. Just traded a little early. I'm sure both teams would have liked to have kept him, knowing how he would turn out. Although not to say he played bad for Calgary, that's for sure. Next up on the list, at number 3, current San Jose Shark, and that's their big bearded defenseman, Brent Burns. Brent Burns in at number 3. Brent Burns. He was drafted by Minnesota. So after 6 seasons in Minnesota and not showing elite numbers yet, the Wild traded Burns to San Jose in the summer of 2011. Burns has since gone on to play 8 seasons in San Jose, having seasons of 75 points, 76 points, and last season's 83 points, winning a Norris Trophy in 2017. He's had 5 All-Star appearances. He was traded for Devin Setoguchi, Charlie Coyle, and a first-round pick. So probably it was a good return for Minnesota, first-round pick. Charlie Coyle played well while he was there. He's since gone on to Boston. But I think they got rid of him a little too early. Number 2. We're down to number 2. There's a guy, another Boston player. Currently in Dallas. I should tell you who it is. Tyler Seguin. Number 2 is Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin, 2nd overall pick in 2010 by Boston. Traded to Dallas July 4th, 2013 with Rich Peverly and Ryan Button for Louis Eriksson, Riley Smith, Matt Frazier, and Joe Morrow. After 3 seasons with Boston, I know he had a little bit of difficulty. I think the nightlife, there was something with Tyler Seguin that Boston wasn't that happy with. I remember at the time, it was a little surprising. Again, another surprising Boston trade. Like, what? And they got back, again, not really a good return for a guy you picked first overall or in the first round. I just here, this was 2nd overall. Thornton was 1st overall. In 469 games played with Dallas, Seguin's numbers are 206 points, goals, 258 assists for 464 points, almost a point a game. Traded him away too early. But I guess they had their reasons. I know there were reasons off ice that there's the reason they traded him away. Now we're up to the top pick. Top pick is a Montreal disaster. My pen is running out. Hang on, guys. This is a Montreal disaster. I think we're still paying the price for making this trade. That might have given it away, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you right now anyway. And that pick was a disaster was trading Ryan McDonagh. Ryan McDonagh to the New York Rangers for Scott Gomez. Okay, so McDonough was traded by Montreal June 30th, 2009, along with Chris Higgins, Pavel Valentenko, and Doug Janik to the New York Rangers for Scott Gomez, Tom Pyatt, and Mike Busto. And just like his name, Busto, he was a bust. Horrible trade by Bob Gainey. Horrible trade. Scott Gomez did almost nothing here. His first year was decent, and after that, not. McDonough went on to produce 62 goals, 225 assists for 287 points in 612 games played with New York Rangers and Tampa Bay. He was named Rangers captain October 6, 2014, and Gomez was a disaster in Montreal. In 3 seasons, he put up 21 goals, 87 assists for 108 points in 196 games played. He had decent numbers only in his first season in Montreal, where he scored 12 goals, 47 assists for 59 points, and he was 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points in 19 playoff games. That was a horrible trade. It set Montreal back, like I said, maybe right up till today, well, at least a good 5 years anyway. And we're still feeling the effects of that trade, honestly. So there you have it. It's a long video. Really sorry about that. If you liked the video, give a thumbs up. Subscribe. Ring the notifications bell. That'll get you more videos like this, hopefully shorter ones, from Talking Habs. And yeah, let me know any comments in the comment section of any guys you would add to this list. Take away. Think I'm crazy for putting in here. Whatever. That's in the comment section below. And once again, thank you for watching. Bye, y'all. Peace out.